welcome to Literally Books, a podcast. I'm Lindsay.
My name is Magda.
And we are rounding out part 4 of Oathbound today.
We are here. Final part.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. And I am really sad. I don't know when the next book is going to come out. And I'm just like freaking out about it.
I'm not okay. I told you I have like 15,000 marks in this book where I like teared up or like, I don't know. I can't take it. But anyway, let's start. Shall we start with the summary?
Let's do it. In the near present, Natasha goes to see Bree's father, Edwin, to ensure he's safe, particularly from Sel, who has recently escaped. She has a ring given to her by Faye that reveals the truth of their family history, much like the charm bracelet that Faye had left for Bree.
Meanwhile, Valak and Emil, Mariah's cousin, who is an earth mover, team up to free Nick, Mariah, Zoe, and Bree from the dungeon at Penumbra. They return to the Crossroads Lounge, where Lucille has helped establish wards to keep the group safe. They tell Bree that they know William, and he has brought Alice there to keep her safe. Mariah lets Bree know that Alice is stuck in purgatory, trying over and over again to prevent her own injury during the battle with the mage card, which Mariah learns during a blood walk.
Bree figures out that the trafficked root crafter girls who were purchased by the Order Regent Gabriel are likely being held at the same institute where she was held in Bloodmarked. She calls William and Lark, who are able to save them and reunite them with their families after bringing them to the Crossroads Lounge.
Valak performs an investigation of Bree's metaphysical body and learns that she has bartered part of her soul away to Erebus, which is why she can't recall the people closest to her in life.
Natasha shows up with Edwin and after a tearful reunion lets Bree know that Selwyn is after her. Bree conjures a flower construct which each member of the group takes a piece of in order to lead him off her scent.
Unfortunately, while attempting to escape, Bree, Nick, Zoe, and Mariah are held up by a boulder in the road that Elijah put there in an attempt to rescue Zoe after he mistakenly thinks that she's in danger. During this time, Selwyn, who has been following Elijah, appears, but doesn't hurt them after Bree says that they are trying to return to Penumbra to barter Erebus's crown, which they stole during their escape in exchange for Bree's missing soul.
Nick, Mariah, Zoe, and Bree arrive at Penumbra and Bree bargains with Erebus. They strike a deal they will return the crown and remove the enchantment which prevents him from touching it by binding it to a shard that the Morgans have bonded to Nick. In exchange, he must forgive the open end of the bargain he struck with her that allows him to call upon her at any time.
In a conversation with Valak, Bree learns that in order to have given up a part of her soul, a connection must have been established with the demon who took it. Bree uses this connection to trap Valak and force him to return her missing soul piece. He says if he does, he will never let Alice Chen wake up and she must choose. She struggles but ultimately chooses her soul.
Sel shows up and takes Erebus's crown, and in this moment we learn that Erebus is Sel's father. And bookends.
Oh my God.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
So much happens. Again, part 3 and part 4 are kind of insane. Part 4, so much happens. Initial thoughts.
There was so much to take in here. I'll be honest, there were a couple of things in this section about the magic that confused me a little bit. Like I didn't really understand why, like how Bree was able to trap Erebus at the end with the soul shard. I like had to read that a bunch of times, but it doesn't matter. It's just because I'm dumb and it has nothing to do with the writing. I like loved what happened in this book, and I thought it was such a badass ending.
Mm-hmm. I really love that. I think the way that we just kind of closed everything out in, again, a massive cliffhanger, it was so well done. Mm-hmm. I love that, like, just kind of taking it back towards the beginning of the part 4. I kind of really enjoyed that they were able to end up getting the crown, because Erebus, his arrogance comes through a little bit, that he just leaves it behind thinking like they're not gonna know, they can feel it, but they didn't he didn't count that Nick had a piece of the crown in him, and it was pretty much calling to him, and he knew like it's still here, so we can go get it, and this is kind of what gives him leverage to be able to go back to Erebus so they can kind of help put Bree's soul back together. And I thought it was really cool. So it just kind of speaks a lot about, it doesn't matter how powerful you are, like, because you think that you know everything and you do everything, a little bit of arrogance, and that's like a huge mistake, because these kids were able to kind of truly take advantage of the situation. And I love that.
I also loved in this section that they all come back to the Crossroads Lounge and it's the entire group together. And Zoe is like, wait, who is this person? And you know who, how? And all of these things. And it's like such a satisfying payoff to see everyone and all these disparate storylines and everyone that you've built up with through these 3 books sort of come together. I freaking loved that.
It's a family reunion.
I loved it.
And again, everybody knows that Bree doesn't remember, and they're like, "Oh, sweetheart, we got you. Don't worry about it." And like it goes back to what you mentioned in our previous episode. Like everybody is okay with it and accepts her for who she is, and they're just gonna like, "We'll figure it out. Don't worry about it."
And I still feel like she feels loved. She's built these new relationships, even though she doesn't really remember who they are. Even in the time that she spent with them post all of this, she feels this love and connection to them. Like Valak saves her, so she already has that connection there. I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah, it was so lovely to see everybody together. It was so cute. This part has the one part of the book where I teared up, which was the reunion between Bree and Nora. Nora is the girl that Bree had seen at the bar. What is it called? Rapscallion?
Rapscallion, yeah.
Rapscallion. And just kind of seeing them that sweet reunion where she pretty much, "You came back for me. You remembered me." Oh my God. It was just crying. Like I was full on bawling. It was such a sweet, nice reunion. And I just love that so much because I think for Bree, that moment is like, okay, it was all worth it. Like I did this and I did the right thing. And it was just so beautiful. And then they didn't forget the black girls. And I just love that so much.
I know.
It was so sweet.
And like knowing that the youngest girl was 13 and like she gets to be back with her family. It's just, fuck, Tracy, how dare you?
I
It was
know.
so good.
Oh my God. So beautiful.
Okay, there is part of the section that made me crazy. I have very few moments of this, but it's in the same section where Valak is doing the metaphysical body walk and he tells Bree that she's bartered part of her soul away and he's so pissed at her. And it is one of those rare moments where like it's not instant acceptance. He's like, "You done fucked up and I'm really pissed at you about that." And it's actually Mariah who's like, she was just trying to do her best. Like, what do you mean? How can you be pissed at her? She didn't know any better. Like, he's a millennia age demon and she's a 17-year-old girl. Like, she made a small mistake. And it's so hard for me because I'm mad at Valak in that moment, given his age, that he is so disappointed in Bree and he uses this moment to make her feel like shit.
And it goes back to like putting Bree up on a pedestal, right?
No, you're right.
It just goes back to that. Like he thought that she was going to be the big savior that was going to do it. And I think it was him realizing like, shit, like she's human. Like, I mean, she's also human. Like she's going to make mistakes. And I don't think he was mad at her. I think he was also kind of mad at himself a little bit for like fully trusting this. Also, he's a broker. He knows how the deals works. And I think he also has like an inner knowing of how all of this stuff works. That like, if we go back to like our very first prologue or chapter or part 1 episode, Bree she just said like, "I'll give up anything." And she didn't specify what the terms of that deal was. And I think I can kind of see from Valak's point, like, what the heck were you thinking? Like, so I get it, what he's so upset, but I think it was also just kind of like him realizing that it's Bree. Like she's human, like in there's nothing. And I think he's just mad at himself for having so much. I think he still has faith in her, but like he just puts so much pressure on this being who it's a 17-year-old girl. I don't know.
I know. I just feel so bad for Bree. Like she just wants control of her own life. And so much of it is so out of her control. And this was like it or not, Valak, she just needed some semblance of control back to like keep going, basically.
And she got it. I mean, she did become powerful. She now is able to, she's in a much better position to lead whatever she's supposed to do now with like better understanding of her power and who she truly is. And
yes. And there is something that I really liked about this, although again, some of this part was confusing to me, but I don't even care. I'm just willing to accept it. Where he talks about like how there's scar tissue around the section that her soul, like the part of her soul that was taken. And he was like, so it'll never go back. It's like, it's not the same. You're gone forever. And I thought that was just such like a beautiful rumination on trauma and like overcoming trauma, because what we learn about Bree is that yes, she's missing this part of her soul, but she's not missing the part of her that like goodness is her North Star. Like showing up for people is her North Star, and sort of like Cell in this way, where like maybe on top of things or on the surface of things they're doing the wrong thing. They're succumbing to, a power that is negative or whatever, but they're doing it in service of other people always. And you're just sort of like, good on them. I don't know. I loved that.
And I think there might have been something, and I didn't take a note on this, but I think Erebus calls this out on Bree. Like
He does.
he really thought like we did this in order for you to think about yourself only and be able to do it. But she kept going back in trying to save people, and this is shown by rescuing the Rootcraft girls. And like that was something that he was not anticipating or expecting after he had made that soul split, I guess.
Yeah, because he says, like, if you can do this with one arm tied behind your back, like, what could you do? And that's how he sort of leverages the Alice part of it. He's like, pick Alice. You're already doing great. Can I say one more thing that, like, really ruined me? And again, I've said every character is my favorite character, but, like, Edwin, Bree's father, like, just talking about who Bree is as a person, like, I think her parents are a big part of that. Like, plans on plans. Like, Faye is like that, you know? And Edwin is, I'm obsessed with who he is. He like heals a lot of daddy issues for me because he's such a good fucking dad, and I like can't take it. And that part where he shows up at the bar after learning about Faye, and he's just like so in love with the women in his life, and he's like, your mom was amazing, you're amazing, I'm here to support you. I'm just like, I can't take this freaking dad who's just like, he's just like a human in a realm of demons, and he's like, I just love all of you. He's just so great. I love him. I don't know.
Yeah, and he's just there to take care of his little girl, and I just love that so much. And like he truly, she feels completely safe with him because he's the only person in there that truly doesn't expect anything from Bree.
Yes.
In any way, even though her friends can say the same thing, truly they do kind of want her to make a decision or do this or do the other thing. Her dad doesn't have that, and I think
that's such a good point.
It was so sweet to be able to kind of have somebody fully take care of her without any expectations on anything, and it was just such a sweet moment.
Edwin, I can't take it. I like truly love him so much. In the first book I said this, like where he's like, you got to go to therapy, I want you to be okay. He just keeps showing up in such a beautiful way that I'm just like, oh my God, what a great parent. Anyway.
It is quite lovely. We do get some pretty good information here from Lark and from William too when they go and rescue the girls, where they identify that there were vials of BM blood in the institute, which is, you know, Bree Matthews' blood. And the thought is that we now know that the order has no way of basically like knowing what to do. So their whole goal is to potentially replicate Bree's power. So that was why they wanted the Rootcraft girls. That's why they're trying to kind of understand what kind of power she has, because they're really hopeless at what to do next. They cannot find a descendant. They cannot get Bree under control. So they're pretty much trying to see, can we just replicate her somewhere else, which is kind of troubling and really scary.
Fuck the order. There's another part about Bree's power in this section that is like one of my favorite parts of the book, which is when Tasia tells Bree to make a construct, and like the order has taught Bree at every moment to use herself as a weapon and use her magic as a weapon. And this blood, you know, draw thing that they're doing, like they're trying to build a superhuman weapon, but instead she builds a flower, and the flower is called a Queen of the Night. And we learn that Bree's mom used to grow them. And at one point, Natasha says, like, they're really beautiful because they need a lot of sun, but they only bloom at night. They only bloom in the dark or something. And I just thought that was, like, such a good nod to, like, her history, the way that she's going to use magic differently.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was really cool. Like, I thought for a moment that she was going to be, like, a crazy weapon or something. Yeah. And she just does something that is so beautiful that, again, in her subconscious, tied her with her mom, even though she might not remember it. No, I think she still remembers her mom, right? I can't remember if she did.
Remembers the idea of her mom.
Yeah. So, like, she still remembers her in a way. Like, I think she still has, like, some of those feelings that she kind of remembers those feelings. So, I thought it was really, like, a nice nod that Bree is still Bree, even without that piece of her soul.
Exactly. Can we talk about, though, the reunification of the soul? Can we talk about that part?
Yeah, let's do it.
The culmination of the whole book is that, to your point about like Bree not having a plan, like she has a plan here.
I was so impressed with her with this one. I'm like, finally.
It's a little bit confusing, but basically like she's like, we're going to come meet you, Erebus, and we're going to give you back your crown. And in exchange for that, you're going to give me back my soul. Because like at this point, that's the only option that she can think of. And when she shows up, he's like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give you back your soul. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, how about if you fulfill, he was like, I will fulfill the other end of your oath so that I don't have anything over you anymore. And Nick's like, don't do it. Like, don't do it. Don't give him back. I'll guard the crown or whatever. But she says, no, I want to do it. And then ultimately she fulfills the oath, and uses this connection between her and Erebus to trap him and say, like, give me my fucking soul back. She doesn't make a bargain. She takes it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weird moment because, like, it's Erebus a plan within a plan trying to prove that Bree is ruthless.
Yeah.
Because one, she takes something without asking, and two, she picks herself over Alice. And it's a weird. I'm just curious what you think about that.
I loved it.
You did, okay.
I love that she picked herself. I love that because I think she kept choosing other people over and over and over again. And I think it's finally her understanding that if she wants to accomplish anything, even if it's getting Alice back, she needs to be her full self. And I think to me, it kind of shows character growth in her and kind of start thinking a little bit more. I don't know if she's even doing this consciously, but I think it's her thinking more thoroughly about the consequences of things. She's kind of putting away immediate gratification, if that makes sense.
Yes.
If she were to get Alice, great, but then what? What about her soul? How are they going to fix the other things? And I think she's just kind of thinking more in long terms. Okay, I'm going to get my soul back, and then I'm going to have to start thinking thoroughly like how I'm going to fix Alice later. And I love that for her because I think she actually put a little bit more thought into this decision instead of just kind of like, I'm going to save my friend, but if she does that, there could be bigger ramifications into like the rest of the other friends, the war, everything else. So I really love that she did that.
Yeah, and you learn that it's the messiness of the relationships that really that soul contains. Because to your point, like, again, this is confusing. She has an idea of the emotion. She has an idea of the people, but she can't quite place them. And when she gets the soul back, it doesn't fit perfectly. We know this because of the scar tissue. But she says immediately she feels this rush of like humanity in her. And so I think it's tough because we want our heroes to be perfect. We want them to have good plans. We want them to not be reckless. We want them to have a clear vision. And like we learn, it's like the messiness of the bad decision making or like of the relationships is what gives her a purpose, you know?
I was really, really proud of her. I love Alice. I love her and I want her to wake up, but I'm really glad that it's not going to be at the expense of Bree.
And it's like Alice has to make the decision. If they were to rip Alice out of purgatory, would Alice have worked through the guilt that she has about not making a different decision? You know, like Bree would have done to Alice what everyone has done to Bree.
Exactly. Like she's just taking her decisions away. And oh my gosh, you're so right about that. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. I really love that. I think it was also... I was really surprised as to how easily manipulated Erebus was at this point.
I know.
And I don't want to say I'm disappointed. I am a little disappointed at how easily it was for them to just overpower Erebus because we had built up this character for 3 books as so like this super powerful, you know, all malignant, all knowing kind of person, demon, whatever he may be. And then he was outmaneuvered by a 17-year-old girl. And I'm really happy for Bree, but I'm like, is this it for Erebus? I mean, I don't think this is it.
I don't think it is, but I think it reveals a blind spot in Erebus, which is like his power that he gave to Bree is severing her relationships to other people. And it's those relationships with other people that she uses to outmaneuver him.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't see that his relationship with her, that soul bond that they created, is a weakness. And the other thing he doesn't see is the very end of the book, his relationship with his son, Cell, is ultimately going to be how he loses his crown.
That one was so shocking. And now I am curious to see how that type of power get transferred because I would have thought that maybe he had to die or something for Cell to be able to kind of pick up the crown. And that's not the case. He just picked it up and the crown is like, yep, it's you, man. You're the next in line. You got it. Which I thought, I did not see that coming.
I didn't either.
I don't think anybody did.
I thought Valak, I wrote at one point in my early notes that Valak was, I thought Erebus' son, because I was like, oh, maybe that's why he has such a complicated relationship between root crafters and demons, because he has these 2 sides of him but that's not it. So I was dead wrong on that.
No.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the evil character of Cell when he shows up right before Bree and all of them are going to go to the Penumbra to make the deal to get, you know, Bree's soul back. And Cell shows up to try to kind of stop them because he found them. And he starts like very evilly whistling and like perturbing them. I don't know. I just thought that was so creepy and very out of character, which I guess he is kind of out of character. So he's like in a demoniac state. But I don't know. It was so weird seeing him like that.
I have a lot of questions about where Cell is going.
Yeah.
It's strange to me because I I honestly, like, in this book, I thought his character was a little cartoonishly bad, but I
Yes.
guess, like, but then it's also hard for me to tell because he's still not, he doesn't hurt Bree in that section, and he doesn't hurt Bree at the end.
And I think Bree even calls it out when she sees him at the end of the book at the penumbra. He's like, "You look better. How did he get better?" I don't know. Did you catch that?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, like she's like, you seem like more like yourself, and he's like, I am. And I guess like, what did you do?
He's an enigma wrapped in a mystery. I don't know where we're going with that.
I don't know either. It was really weird, but yeah.
That's where we leave off. We don't know what the relationship status is between the three, although we do know that Bree and Nick hook up.
We didn't talk about that. I don't know. Did they get handsy? Did they hook up? Did they do it?
Yeah.
What happened? But something happened.
Something happened. Sel knows. I think we have a lot of open questions.
Yeah. A lot happens. I'm like, oh, good for them having a little bit of fun. They deserve it. But yeah, I think a lot of open questions. I don't know what's going to happen with Sel. I would think now that Sel is the king of the demons or whatever he might be, he potentially has the option to call back the hounds that are, hovering behind Alice in purgatory. So,
true.
so he could potentially do that.
Yeah.
So he has potential to redeem himself by saving Alice if he wanted to. I would think so. Hopefully Alice wakes up. And I don't know, like, I have no idea. I don't know how they're going to take down the Order, honestly. I have no idea how they're going to do it.
Well, I think we know the Order is the true villain. That's what I feel. Like,
that is true.
Screw the Order. Yeah.
That is true. I feel like if anything has taught us in this book is that everybody and everything it's a redeemable character, whether you're a demon, a champion, a king, whatever you may be. It is just the organized groups without, I think you might have mentioned this checked power. That is the true problem here. And I think it's a really good commentary, not just in today's society, but like within the book, that is anybody can have a second chance. And I really love that Tracy kind of calls that out.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Oh, goodness, it was beautiful. All right. Should we end it there?
Yeah, I think that's it. I'll see you, I don't know when, for then book 4.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, thank you for listening to Literally Books, the podcast.
Where we say what we read.
And we mean what we say.
Bye.
Bye.